According to our mission, in order to comply the implementation of education and training, Morombo Maritime Polytechnic has prepared supporting facilities and infrastructure, including traineeship, laboratories, simulators, libraries, training pools, hall buildings, cadets dormitories, executive dormitories, worship facilities, laundry, dining room, transportation fleet, and further sports facilities such as soccer fields, futsal fields, tennis courts, volleyball courts, jogging tracks, studio gym, marching bands, and several arch. Job prospect and environment of Morombo Maritime Polytechnic graduates are spread across several agencies, 50% in domestic companies, 25% in foreign companies, and 15% in government agencies such as civil servant, Indonesian army, and police, and 10% in other professions. Polytechnic also cooperates in implementing the three dharma of higher education in foreign and domestic companies and several universities, both public and private. Green country with 2/3 of its area consists of ocean. Indonesia is known as one of the largest maritime countries in the world. This shows that we have a lot of maritime potential, starting from the beauty of the sea and abundant natural resources. In addition, the existence of the ocean as a unifier of thousands of large and small islands is in dire need of connectivity that will connect those lands. This condition is, of course, a great opportunity for sea transportation modes, and we are here to answer that. The rating school PPLPE Morombo, which then became Morombo Marine College or PP2IP Morombo, was since April 15, 2019, based on the regulation of the Ministry of Transportation of the Republic of Indonesia number PM 29 of 2019, PP2IP Morombo has officially changed to Morombo Maritime Polytechnic. In line with that, Morombo Maritime Polytechnic takes an important role in creating reliable seafarers who participate in developing the Indonesian economy through sea transportation modes by producing excellent, professional, and ethical maritime officers. Morombo Maritime Polytechnic is one of the Indonesian higher vocational education under the Ministry of Transportation, which organizes vocational education programs in the maritime field. Morombo Maritime Polytechnic is decided to become a vocational higher education that develops smart education, smart research, and smart community service. In order to develop ourselves to become a center of excellence for applied education in the maritime field based on artificial intelligence, it is supported by 5 missions. The first is to organize and develop educational programs
Sudah. Mau dikasih tahu barangkali.
Good morning and afternoon, and welcome to the International Conference on Advanced Maritime Interconnection 2023 in Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, Makassar, Indonesia. I am Kanza Tamarindora, and it is my honor to be your Master of Ceremony for today's Hybrid International Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference, as the program of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, is one of maritime institutions supervised by Human Resource Development Agency, Ministry of Transportation, aims to establish scholars and academic community in pursuing national and international issues on maritime education and training. Furthermore, the conference particularly aims to manage challenges of the future of seafaring, shipbuilding, and their impact on maritime education and training. And this conference is also part of celebration of 43rd anniversary of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Barombong Maritime Polytechnic has the honor to present you this international conference, and it is my honor to welcome the head of Human Resource Development Agency, Ministry of Transportation, and all of officers from Human Resources Development Agency, the head of Human Resource Development Center of Sea Transportation, the heads, directors, chairman, students, cadets, lecturers, and the members of maritime institution in Indonesia, keynote speakers and moderator who are the experts in maritime affairs, and also we welcome all participants of this international conference. Ladies and gentlemen, as a start of this international conference, let's sing the national anthem Indonesia Raya. I invite you to stand up. Audiences may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite you to see the traditional dancing performance from South Sulawesi, Karanuang, which means happiness.
mulia kakana tamala dua mataya pak mai masagalaya muri mulia kakana tamala dua mataya pak mai masagalaya naku kunaruntu naku naluruan pangu lagi enamo kanang kanang baji lima tangku sondere muri muria pak mai masagalaya Buale tonci punna tene nara punna
Give round applause for a nice performance by cadets of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. What a nice performance by cadets of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Ladies and gentlemen, now let me introduce the head of Human Resource Development on Transportation Agency that will be represented by Secretary of Human Resource Development on Transportation Agency, Dr. Captain Wisnu Handoko, MSc, the head of Human Resource Development Center of Sea Transportation, Dr. Ahmad MMTR, QIA, CFRA, Director of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, Captain Muhammad Abduh MMTR. Experts in maritime affairs as keynote speakers are the Transportation Minister Expert Staff for Area and Environment Indonesia, Dr. Captain Antoni Arif Priyadi, MSc, Rector of Hasanuddin University, Makassar, Indonesia, Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, MSc, Dr. T.L. Yip from Hong Kong Polytechnic University, Hong Kong, Professor Richard Birmingham from Newcastle University, United Kingdom, Professor Inga Bartusefficiency, PhD, MSc from World Maritime University, Sweden, and the team of moderators, Captain Indra Priyatna and me. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to listen the official report from Director of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. For Captain Muhammad Abdu MMTR, please come to the stage.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to deliver an official report on ICAMI, International Conference on Advanced Maritime Interconnection, presented by Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, Makassar in Indonesia. First of all, let us thanks to Almighty God for His blessing that we can organize and attend this international conference. The report as follows. First, objective. The objective of ICAMI is to discuss contribution to development of human resource and advances in shipping science and technology, seafarers welfare, and also the environment. Second, theme. The theme of the ICAMI is the future of seafaring, shipbuilding, and their impact on maritime education and training. Third, scope of papers. Scope of papers that submitted to the committee includes maritime education and training, evolution on automation and digitalization in maritime, logistics and shipping, and also other related areas. The committee has received almost 40 presentations, which will be presented on the parallel session. Fourth, keynote speakers. There are 5 keynote speakers of the ICAMI, and as already mentioned by the Master of Ceremony. Fifth, the conducting of the ICAMI consists of 2 sessions. Plenary session, which is held today, and also parallel session will be held on 23rd June 2023. Finally, this report is an overview of implementation of ICAMI at Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. I apologize if in organizing the international conference, there is thing that is not as expected. Hopefully, this conference will meet our willingness to develop progressive shipping. Ending this report, would you please, on behalf of Head of Human Resource Development of Transportation Agency, Dr. Captain Wisnu Handoko, Master of Science, to officially open the International Conference on Advanced Maritime Interconnection. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Captain Muhammad Abdu MMTR, for the report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will open the International Conference on Advanced Maritime Interconnection 2023. We would like to invite Dr. Captain Wisnu Handoko, MSc, as Secretary of Human Resource Development on Transportation Agency, on behalf of Head of Human Resource Development on Transportation Agency, to deliver a welcome speech. And after the speech, please officially open this conference. To Dr. Captain Wisnu Handoko, MSc, the time is yours.
Okay, can you, my voice? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Head Human Resource Agency, allow me to convey the speech the Honorable Dr. Captain Antoni Arif Priadi, Master of Science, the Transportation Minister, Expert Staff of Area and Environment, Dr. Si Leung Yip of Hong Kong Polytechnic University, Dr. Richard Birmingham of Newcastle University, United Kingdom, Ms. Inga Batu Sevinsins of the World Maritime University, Sweden, and other guests that I cannot say one by one. First of all, let's praise to God for the health and opportunity given to us to attend this seminar today. Starting my speech, let me congratulate the director and the entire academic community of Barombong Merchant Marine Polytechnic for their hard work to carry out the ICAMI. This conference is on the routine agenda of the Ministry of Transportation Human Resources Development Agency. Held annually, it is carried out alternately by the Merchant Marine Polytechnic under the Ministry of Transportation. The implementation of ICAMI is a manifestation of our strong commitment to developing human resources in the field of sea transportation. Through this international conference, there is hope to be an increase in insight and the drafting of the concept of developing maritime education and training. The development concept will not only belong to Barombong Merchant Marine Polytechnic, but will belong to all marine transportation institutions in Indonesia. Through this international conference, lecturers from all Merchant Marine Polytechnic and marine transportation observers have submitted their papers. This also shows that we consistently carry out our efforts to develop shipping, science, and technology. The year's theme of our conference is the future of seafaring, shipbuilding, and their impact on maritime education and training. This theme shows our effort to prepare future seafarers, seafarers who are adaptive to the trend and change of increasingly sophisticated sea transportation technology. This time also describes our projection about future ship technologies, the ship shape and size, and the cargo type. At the end of the theme, we are challenged to formulate a concept for how we carry out maritime education and training that is in line with the change and development of the times. Congratulations on celebrating the 43rd anniversary. Barombong Merchant Marine Polytechnic is one of the best Merchant Marine Polytechnic. I am sure that this polytechnic will continuously improve and consistently produce professionals in sea transportation. To the director of the Barombong Merchant Marine Polytechnic and the entire committee, I would like to express my gratitude and highest appreciation for holding this conference. Lastly, allow me to open the ICAMI at the Barombong Merchant Marine Polytechnic. May God help us and bless us in carrying out this conference. That's all my speech. Thank you very much for your kind attention and I hope you have an extraordinary meeting. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Captain Wisnu Handoko, for opening this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the main program, the plenary session of the conference, and this session will be conducted by our moderator. He is an expert in maritime affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and give round applause for Captain Indra Priyatna. Hello, Captain Indra. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. And how are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. You look gorgeous anyway, wearing this traditional costume.
Okay.
Yep. Captain Indra, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Kansa Tamarindora. Ladies and gentlemen, as it has explained briefly by my colleague, Ms. Dora, that in conjunction with the celebration of 43 years of age of the Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, and to fulfill the obligation of higher education to conduct international conference for at least once a year, this Polytechnic held this international conference with the themes, the future of seafarings and shipbuilding and their impact on maritime education and training. These themes, however, will be elaborated by 5 keynote speakers, while each keynote speakers will deliver their scientific article or paper in not more than 20 minutes. Allow me to remind you that the session for question and answer will be conducted in the end of the session, and I will remind you 2 minutes before your time is over. Ladies and gentlemen, until now, the number of participants reached 500 persons, and therefore, let's the conference begin. The first keynote speaker is Dr. Kapten Antoni Arif Priyadi, Master of Science. Allow me to read his curriculum vitae. He obtained Diploma 3 degrees as well as Certificate of Competency for Deck Officer Class 3 in 1995 from the Semarang Merchant Marine Polytechnic, and then obtained his Scholar from Merchant Marine Higher Education Jakarta in 1999, and he obtained his master degrees from WMU Sweden in 2006 and graduated his doctoral degree from University of Indonesia and Université de Havre branch in 2014. His list of work experience is quite long, and he has engaged as the transportation attaché at Indonesian Embassy in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and as Director of Sea Traffic and Transportation at the Directorate General of Sea Transportation, and later on as the Secretary of Education and Training Agency, the Ministry of Transportation. Therefore, allow me to mention his existing title as Expert Staff of Ministers of Transportation on Region and Environment. Dr. Antoni will deliver his presentation entitled Autonomous Ship, Navigation Safety Concern. Dr. Antoni, the time is yours. Dr. Antoni, are you there? Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Antoni is now with the Ministry of Transportation in Singapore. So it is not easy for him to join this conference with the online with Zoom meeting or something.
Okay, Captain Indra, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
doctor.
okay.
Let's go ahead.
Captain, can you hear my voice clearly there?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Captain Indra. Of course, for this international conference on advanced maritime interconnection, I will present the autonomous ships And then in respect with the navigation safety concern, this is quite important things because a lot of seafarers look like on hot issue, hot topic, discussed regarding the autonomous ships. But in detail, look like also the seafarers, they do not really understand what is the autonomous ships. So please, the operator to highlight my presentation. The operator, yeah. The next slide, I would like to little bit give the a background of the future of shipping prediction. If we may see the picture on the left side hand, you may see the officer there actually is not on board vessel, but the officer actually is on the shore office. That are in front of him a lot of camera, a lot of instrument that actually is control the ship at the ocean, at the sea. So the prediction, what we may see on that picture actually is the unmanned vessel, the unmanned ship. There is no crew on board. And then if you may see that person, he also used his right hand to control the vessel. So the second issue actually is remote control vessel. And then of course, the feature also drone surveillance for the inspector, for the marine inspection, and so on. And then the last one, as I mentioned earlier, that seafarer working on shore. For the next slide, I would like to give some briefly the taxonomy of autonomy level of the autonomous ships. According to the IMO in 2018, actually we have 4 type taxonomy for autonomous level of the autonomous ship or autonomous vessel. The first level you may see here on the picture that level M. M means this one is still manual. Seafarers are on board to operate and control shipboard system and function. And then some operation may be automated. The second level is level R. R means remotely controlled ship with seafarer on board. The seafarer actually still on board, yeah, but the ship is controlled and operated by another location. Now, the next level is what we call by the RU. The RU means that remote unmanned. It means the ship is controlled and operated by someone, another location, and there are no seafarers on board. And then the last one, the typically is what we call by the level A or fully autonomous ships. The operating system of the ship can make decision and determine action by itself. So when we see this graph, this picture, the green one, you may see unmanned ship, which actually on the level autonomous vessel level RU and level A. On the other hand, level M and level R, actually the seafarers still on board. And of course, the IMO is currently working on developing regulation for mass. The goal of this regulation is to ensure that mass are safe, secure, and environmentally sound. Yeah. Then on the next slide, regarding the navigation itself. On the next slide, regarding the navigation, actually when we are talking about remote control navigation task category, actually there are 3 tasks of remote control navigation. The first task is the situation bird to bird, including autonomous docking. And then the second task actually is pilot point to pilot point. And then the last task actually is navigation in open sea or deep water. Based on this navigation task, we may see that remote control mode of autonomous ship, or we may say the type of arm, will affect virtually all aspects of the ship operation, especially for the navigation. Now, of course, all function and potential hazard are mutually related, and it is quite difficult actually to evaluate component individually. On the next slide, this may give us little bit the picture how the system actually working for the control structure. On the left hand side picture, you may see here the three category of the control. The first category on the top layer is human. Of course, this one is on the emergency one. And then the second layer on the middle is supervisory control. And then the last, guidance and optimizations. And then, of course, the last one, yeah, is actually control execution, physical ship, and sensor. As you may see here, actually, from the bottom, we need to understand the ship motion, because ship motion control force by the machinery. And then, of course, the machinery system will be arranged, will be led by the Autonomous Machinery Management System, or AWMS. On the left side, navigation sensor will go to the Autonomous Navigation System. And of course, when we go to the supervisory control, supervisory risk controller, or as SRC, this one will lead all the document, all sensor and data is analyzed. So with this kind of critical control structure, actually still, yeah, because this one new technology, still there is potentially accident. The remaining gray area still there. And then also sometimes the society say the automation will be lesser accident and incident, but this one also still need to be proved. In air industry, on air industry, of course, automation has improved safety. A lot of paper say regarding the air industry. And then for the shipping industry, of course, the question is, can we assume that the same is true for the shipping domain? And then, of course, we ask ourselves that actually we need to do risk analysis. For the next slide, little bit discuss regarding the connectivity and communication concept for autonomous ship. Of course, a lot of things that here actually is controlled by the some instrument, maybe using 4G, 5G, using the satellite, using the what we call by not narrowband Internet of Things, or NB-IoT, and then also using the high altitude platform, or HAP. On the right hand, you may see on the top picture that there are 4 types of the instrument to connect the signal from the ship to the shore. On the left hand side, the picture, you may see here the navigation and positioning. This one is one of the challenges for an autonomous ships. But a lot of things that remote control, secure communications, digitalization of VHF system, and so on and so on. This is the challenge, how the community concept for autonomous ship that we may look after. The next one, this is what we may relate to the factor, how that the technology can accelerate or delay the adoption of the technology itself. Next slide, please. Actually, there is 6 factors. The first factor you may see on the right side of that picture is, has a sound business model been drawn up? It means, yeah, of course, if we do that one, actually, is there any benefit in the terms of economics? The second thing is the regulation on the right hand. Is it ready? And then the third thing is social acceptance. Does society accept the technology? The fourth thing is, are users able to master the technology itself? The seafarers, and then the port person, and then the shore person, and so on. And then the labor market dynamic. Is labor expensive? Or is there any labor shortage and so on? And then the last one is the technology ready for its large-scale application. Is it possible for the whole ship or only for the small population of the ship that the technology will be applied? For instance, for shipping, maybe the category of small ship, length of ship, and so on. Then hazard in current navigation on the next slide. This one also need to be looked after. Yeah, the first thing on the point one, sometimes the seafarers, officer on watch, quite very stressful. For instance, during pilotage, during domestic water, the officer on watch quite very stressful. But sometimes during long sea passage tend to be rather monotonous. The second point is also sometimes the seafarers or officer on watch to stay high attentive. Yeah, even sometimes also because he watch sole responsibility on which in many cases this lead the situation in which dynamical developing traffic conditions in the ship vicinity are not properly perceived and responded to. It's too late. Sometimes too late. Not aware is the third things that low situation awareness sometimes happen on the bridge. How about the human element in maritime accident? Gentlemen, ladies, the whole participant. On the next slide, this is quite important to understand that actually the number range 60% to 96%. Obviously, the accident or incident caused by the human error. Yeah, this one is real number according to Sangwis 92, Blending 87, and Badrum in 2000. So this one is quite a big number of human error. And of course, sometimes because of this thing, society or industry looking for the alternative to reduce the human error. That is why they come with the automation, they come with the concept autonomous ship and so on. As human failure is a result of one other factor, those must be improved, of course. Yeah, improvement, for instance, on the part of fatigue, inadequate communication, inadequate general technical knowledge, inadequate knowledge of on-ship system. This is sometimes because there is a sophisticated technology, the seafarers not ready to understand the system, the new ship system, and so on. Poor design of automation, and then decision based on inadequate information, faulty standards, policies, or practice, and then the last one actually is poor maintenance. Gentlemen, ladies, and participation. When see the major safety challenge in ship operation in mixed environments, we cannot say only for the ship structure, personal safety, and so on, but the categorization on the navigational safety, for instance. Safety challenge, of course, in collision, grounding, erroneous on navigation data, visualization, object identification, failure, and sensory issue. Also the correct collision regulation interpretation issue, and as well as the unpredicted behavior of the opposing vessel. This one navigation safety actually may become a concern for the safety navigation of the autonomous vessel. Why? Because autonomous vessel, according to taxonomy, when the full autonomous vessel, there is no person there. There is no seafarers test. All is conducted by the person on shore. And then also for the ship safety system, navigation system, for instance, in number S2.2, navigation system and sensor failure, all is handled, all is remotely controlled by the ship on person on shore. Thus, all concern, especially S1 and S2, navigational safety and ship system safety could be challenged for the autonomous vessel. That is why when we see on the next slide, the challenge actually to resume up what I present from the beginning of the page 1 up to the last page. Actually, there is 5 issues regarding the ship autonomous. The first one is replacement of good seamanship. When we discuss regarding the pollution regulation 72, rule number 2 state regarding the responsibility. For the autonomous vessel, who will responsible? The master? You don't have master on board. You don't have.
Dr. Anthony, we cannot hear you.
Sorry,
Hello?
I repeat. Hello, yeah, please. Now,
Excuse me, we could not hear you.
hello. From beginning or just now? Kapindra? 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 Hello, Kat?
Yeah, we could not hear you, unfortunately. Maybe there is something wrong with the audio system. Can you repeat, please?
On the page, what page? From beginning, Captain? Hello, Captain. Captain,
Bukan dari sana.
how is now?
Oh, dari sana.
Captain, how is now? Captain, how is now?
No, not yet. We still could not hear you clearly. Never mind. We will wait for you anyway.
Wait. How about now, Captain?
Ah, it's okay. Now we can hear
Check
you.
now. It's okay?
Now it's okay.
So I repeat from which page, Captain? Actually, now is the last page of my presentation.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Challenge again. I sum up regarding the my presentation. There's 5 challenges that we need to discuss. We need to think and how we look after regarding the autonomous ships. The first challenge is regarding the replacements of good seamanship. According to the Collision Regulation 1972, for instance, rule number 2, responsibility. We know exactly when we have shippers on board, the master is responsible. But the ship autonomous, then who will be responsible for the action to take alter course and so on? It also happened for the rule number 5 rule out. Safe speed, risk of collision, action to avoid collision, overtaking, head-on situation, crossing situation, and also responsibility within vessel. And the last, at least, conduct of vessel in restricted visibility. That is why this one the challenge regarding the Collision Regulation 1972. The second challenge is connectivity and communication channel. How we may do the working on autonomous ship control software. How then about the data analysis? And how then decision making based on sensor information and remote communication could be taken. The two challenges regarding cyber attacks. How we should prepare the crisis management and cyber security. That is why we need the new skill for that one. The fourth things regarding the training for seafarers to remotely navigate a ship. And then, of course, new skill and competence are necessary for those who deal with design, operation, and maintenance of unmanned ships. That is why STCW look like we need also to discuss further regarding the new skill and new competence. The last one, the automated port operation. For instance, the ship is autonomous. Then how the ship is communicate with the person on port operation. So automated port operation need to be explored, need to be researched further. Developing legislation, VTS operation also need to be explored and improved, because the VTS operator cannot anymore discuss or talking or have conversation with the autonomous ship, and also interaction between manned and unmanned ships. So that one's the 5 things, challenges that I may come up on the end my presentation. Captain Indra, thank you. And then time is yours.
Okay, Dr. Anthony, thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation. Allow me to summarize the essence of your presentations. I believe that your presentation is dealing with a conceptual model of autonomous ship, in particular with navigation safety concern, mainly elaborate 9 areas of concerns as they are, firstly, future of shipping prediction. And then secondly, the taxonomy of autonomous autonomy level, including mass, maritime autonomous surface ship. Thirdly, autonomous merchant ship categories. Fourthly, remote control navigation task categories. Fifthly, reducing incidents and ship hierarchical control structure. 6, connectivity and communication concept for autonomous ship. 7, hazard in current ship navigation. 8, major safety challenge in ship's operation in mixed environment. And the 9th, challenges in maritime education and sectors. There are 5 items in your presentations, including the need of review of International Convention for Prevention of Collision Regulation 1972 as amended. Dr. Anthony, again, thank you very much indeed for your great contribution to this conference. So we have the big pictures of the autonomous ship that will be soon introduced in our core curricula for merchant marine training. Again, sir, thank you very much. Yes. Give a big applause to Dr. Anthony.
Yeah. Captain, if any question, please send to my email, because just a few minutes I will boarding to the another place by flight. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share regarding the autonomous ship. Thank you very much, Captain Indra.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you can tell to the audience that the question might be sent to Dr. Anthony email.
Yes, later we will have question and answer session, but especially for Dr. Captain Anthony Arif Priadi, the question and answer session will be answered at his email. Yes. Maybe you can inform us your email address, sir?
Yeah, anthony.kemenhub@gmail.com. It's quite simple. Anthony using i.gmail.kemenhub@gmail.com.
Anthony.kemenhub@gmail.com. Is it correct?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Correct.
Okay. Anthony.kemenhub@gmail.com.
Okay.
Anthony, Antoni. Is it correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sorry for leaving this quite a good conference. Again, I'm very sorry that soon I go to the flight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, and don't be late. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the second keynote speaker will be Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, Master of Science, Director or Counselors of University of Hasanuddin Makassar, Indonesia. But now, same as Dr. Anthony, now he is at the airport and on the way flying from Jakarta to Makassar. And he will provide his presentation at about 13:40. It's about 7 minutes to go. So allow me for first of all to read his curriculum vitae, and therefore at 13:40 he could deliver his presentation. Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, Master of Science, is the Chancellor of University of Hasanuddin Makassar, Indonesia. He graduated his scholar on aquacultures from University of Hasanuddin Makassar, Indonesia in 1989. And then he graduated his magister programs on marine ecology and management from McMaster University, Canada in 1996. And he obtained his doctoral degree on marine biology program from James Cook University, Australia in 2003. His occupation experience is quite long. I make it short. As a dean at postgraduate study, University Hasanuddin from 2018 until 2022. And then as advisors of Ministry of Sea and Fisheries in 2020. And then members of Indonesian Science Academy from 2021 until now. His leadership experience in international forum, President Association Diving School International from 2011 until now. And then board member of Coral Triangle Centers from 2012 until now. And then chairman of research advisory boards of partnership of Australia-Indonesia Research from 2020 until now. And he has also leadership experience in national forum and local forum. In national forum, he is engaged as steering board of profession certification body of sea and fisheries 2020 to 2024. And then as Secretary General of Indonesian Coral Reef Society from 2012 until now. He also engaged as a chairman of Indonesian Fisheries Scholar from 2017 until now. He also involved in so many world-class professor research. It's quite a lot. Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, Master of Science, have 142 international publication in Scopus with H index of 30 and have 256 national and international publications in Google Scholar with H index of 34, while the last one is entitled Fluctuation Sea Level and Reversing Monsoon Winds Drive Holocene Lagoon Infill in Southeast Asia, established by Scientific Report 2023. So that's the curriculum vitae of Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, directors of the University of Hasanuddin. Now we are awaiting for his presentation. I believe he will provide his presentation within 3 minutes. Is it? Professor Jamaluddin, are you there? Not yet. Professor Jamaluddin, are you there? Yeah, because he is at the airport. Possibly it's not easy to get a good connection and the best bandwidth. I believe the bandwidth is too small if using the Wi-Fi at the airport. Pardon? Oh, it's still in 10 minutes. Nggak bisa. It's difficult. Yeah, Mr. Anthony is already leave. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa can join us within the next 10 minutes. It's quite sometimes. Maybe we can interact each other concerning the material delivered by Dr. Anthony, or maybe anything related to our themes concerning the future of seafaring, shipbuilding, and their impact on maritime education and training. Ya, pertanyaan di email, or they may ask, especially from the cadet, if there are any cadet over here. Yeah, possibly. I'm not. Yeah. Hello, Professor. Are you there? Pardon? Professor Jamaluddin Jompa, are you there? Can you hear me? Risikonya yang lain semuanya mundur. Iya. Belum tahu. Aku nggak bisa improvisasi. Okay. To fulfill, not to spend the time, maybe there is something you want to ask to Dr. Captain Anthony. Please say it now, and I will write it down, and I can deliver your question by WhatsApp. So,
Faster than via email, right?
yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are joining in this room, you may ask your question for Dr. Captain Antony Arif Priadi, and Captain Indra will send those questions directly via WhatsApp to Dr. Captain Antony. Could you please raise your hand? Oh, okay.
Okay. Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very released. I'm happy to hear your voice.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
for you being
Excuse
away,
me,
but
I
do
have
hope that-
already read your curriculum vitae, and therefore now you may proceed with your presentation, Professor. Professor, the time is yours.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody who here in this very important and very prestigious meeting conference. I'm so happy and also being honored to be able to be part of this event. Allow me just to briefly mention that Indonesia as a maritime continent is really needs this kind of events agenda to enable us maintain the spirit. We need the spirit of being a maritime nation. The reason why I emphasize the spirit, because without that spirit, we will not be able to become a real maritime nation, because we get used to on the land. Everybody feel like happy in the room like this, but
Excuse me, sir. It's look like our connection is lagging. Excuse me, Professor, we could not hear you. Hello? Putus koneksi.
hello.
Hello, sir. Yeah, we
I'm
just
back.
yeah, we just miss you.
Sorry, all right then. Can you hear me well now? I can start. I can continue.
Yes, please. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. Okay, then I think I don't need a PowerPoint. So okay, then you can use the PowerPoint. Go to the next slide, please. Back to my statement in the beginning, that we need to be developing together our spirit as a maritime nation. This is really challenging, but also a huge opportunity. When Juanda, I was as one of our former leader, actually declare about UNCLOS, UN clause, I think it was a very really big momentum. We call it momentum because otherwise our country will be divided. All the islands will be divided because we will be having international water within our islands. But with the UN clause, then we become a really big maritime nation. That's why UNHAS declared that Indonesia actually is not only archipelagic country, but we are actually what we call Indonesian maritime continent. We emphasize the continent because we would like to show the people that we are so big as continent, but we are a maritime continent. And I do hope that all participants can bring this into their day-to-day kind of flagship, and also in Bahasa Indonesia we call it diksi, or a sentence that we need to echo all the time, that we are big maritime nation and we become what we call a maritime continent, Indonesian maritime continent. And we do hope that with that spirit, then we can go beyond what we are having now. We have 17,000 islands. Of course, we are the biggest, the highest number of islands all over the world. We are number 2 or the second longest coastal area, although we are actually number 1 in terms of productive coastal. Or Canada become number 1 because they calculate all this green, what you call the area is not really inhabited. Yeah. So let's feel that sense and spirit that we are very big nation because we are a maritime nation. So not only number of islands, but also the size of the ocean. And please remember, we do not just look into the zona, the economic exclusive zones, but we can actually go beyond the economic exclusive zones. We can also go to the international waters. And I have a dream, my own, the Indonesia, because we are a maritime nation, so we're supposed to be able to really explore and exploit the whole planet. Yeah, with this also 70% ocean. So my college from this maritime study programs, related study programs or disciplines, please, you are the future of Indonesia. You are the future of this nation to be able to make this nation become a great nation. We cannot become a great nation without understanding and realizing the nature of our own nation. This is what we call a comparative advantage. We already have the best possible position at the whole planet because we have the highest number of islands. Secondly, we are also very rich in biodiversity. We are number 1 in terms of marine biodiversity on the whole planet. So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry that I don't mention all your names, but I do believe you are all maritime lovers. We are the people who actually got the advantage of becoming maritime people. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of challenge. The challenge, they only we have 65% population lives on the coastal areas. So, and most of these people actually the poverty among those the coastal population. Next slide, please. And in terms of education, we have still at the national wide, of course, we are still at the lower level of education, mostly schools. And most of these people actually who do not enter the formal school, actually in the coastal and small islands people. That's why under UNHA's collaboration with Australian Alumni Association, along with the government of Prahu, so both school, in order to enable the maritime people to be able to go to the educational better education, because without education, there is no way become maritime nation, a good or strong maritime nation. Therefore, we are really hoping these seminars not only improving our spirit, encourage ourselves, encourage our institution, but also understanding our common problem. Our common problem is at the national level, we need to understand our potential, huge potential, but also we have challenge in terms of human resources. Next slide, please. That's why then Hasanuddin University are committed to collaborate with all other agencies, including our friends, college, from all of these maritime-based institutions, including in Barombong, to be able to really pursue target of better and high qualified maritime worker. So at UNHAS, we have the 5 undergraduate study programs, not only in the technical, not only shipping technology, marine science, and also marine systems, but also we are having life sciences also. So that as a whole, as a maritime institution and also higher education, we hope that UNHAS will participate and also contribute to, and along with Polytechnic Barombong, of course, hopefully we can work together in many different arenas to enable this country to really becoming forming themselves as a college from Polytechnic Barombong and other participants. Polytechnic, of course, one of our a big hope in the future to be able to create or develop human resources in maritime, not only on ship studies, but also on other infrastructure related to maritime and also seafarers and so on. I do believe the country is now developing many what we call technology, marine-based technology, including shipping technology. As a big maritime nation, of course, we need to have all of this infrastructure and also high technology building. For example, a big ship and so on. And I think many of the speakers today, I do believe will contribute to that. My real mission for today is for us together. We hope we're working together in interdisciplinary approach to enable these nations as a big and strong maritime nation. Without further ado, I think I would like to thank again the director of Polytechnic Barombong for giving me opportunity. Although I'm away, but I do hope that one day I will come to Polytechnic and also talk to our college in Barombong. Good luck and wish you all the best and have a nice time for doing getting together physically, and please be inspired each other. Without further ado, I'd like to say thank you and goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, Master of Science. Thank you very much for your explanation. It seems that you will support Barombong Maritime Polytechnic fully with your expert from University of Hasanuddin. Professors, you started your presentation with the condition geographically of Indonesia as a maritime nation or archipelagic state, and you also mentioned about 35% of population lives in coastal area, and therefore we have to pay close attention to the aquacultures. I believe that's your discipline. And you also mentioned that there are about 33% not attend the junior high school, and only 7% qualified as bachelor degree level, and only 4% female workforce. And therefore, you will use your resources to improve this condition. And it become a challenges to the development of human resource in future. And then in the end, you are explained about the heartfelt support from University of Hasanuddin to Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, especially for MAS, Maritime Autonomous Surveyship Study Program, and on the study on the preparation of the dockyard facilities in south of Sulawesi, I believe. And then thirdly, you will provide your marine science expert from University of Hasanuddin to support the program established by the Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Thank you, sir. That's a very heartfelt support. And again, thank you very much for your kind presentation and for your offer. Thank you, sir.
You are very welcome, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Mohon maaf semua partisipan, saya belum bisa hadir. Insya Allah suatu saat bertemu kembali.
Excuse
Saya
me.
izin atau sudah cukup?
If
Is that enough for me?
there is a question addresses to you, how we could convey the question to you?
I can still listen now if you have.
Is there one way or another?
Yes, I can listen. And
No, sir.
maybe
The
address
time.
if there is more time.
I believe we have to proceed with the another keynote speaker, sir. So possibly we will submit our question to your staff in the university.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
See you again, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the third keynote speaker will be Dr. Ziliang Yip, or I may say Dr. T.L. Yip from Hong Kong Polytechnic University. His presentation today entitled Shipping Technology and Better Shipping for Everyone. But before he delivers his presentation, allow me to read his curriculum vitae. But since he has a very long experience and doing so many researches, then allow me to make it short. Dr. T.L. Yip, qualification, he got his Bachelor of Engineering from the University of Hong Kong, and then he got Masters of Business Administration from Manchester Business School, and he obtained his doctoral degree of philosophy from the University of Hong Kong. Now his employment as associate professors at Department of Logistics and Maritime Studies, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, from 1st of July 2014 until now. His research outputs, he already established 183 titles of research output. However, only one as a guest editorial. Since the output is so much, allow me to read the last title of his research output, which is issued in 2022. His research is Decision Analytics and Trade Ideology, New Perspectives of Maritime Logistics. It is established in 2022 by Logistic and Transportation Review number 186. His activities today as Asian Journal of Shipping and Logistics from 1st of January 2019 until now. He also obtained so many prizes or awards. For example, Outstanding Reviewer Award in 2016, a Silver Medal Invention Award for the HIDEC system, a diffusion characterized indexing technology to forecast regional harmful alga bloom in 2008, and then Top Peer Reviewer 2019, Best MPM Review Award of 2020, and then Best Paper Awards in 2022, and many others. Dr. T.L. Yip, the time is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon. Okay, Chairman. Okay, yeah, thank you for very nice introduction from the Captain Payana. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. So may I share the screen so that you can see my PowerPoint? Let me see. Yes. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen now. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Okay. Good. Today, first of all, thank you for your invitation. I'm very honored to be one of the keynote speaker here today. And the conference is very meaningful. Okay. The conference is about the future of seafaring, shipbuilding, and their impact on the maritime education and training. So today I would like to focus a bit on the shipping technologies. Okay. And especially we will talk at the end, I will talk about the marine education. Okay. Yeah. So today my agenda is I would talk about some shipping technologies. Okay. I noticed that the previous two keynote has already talked about something like autonomous ships. Okay. So that part I will may not spend too much time there. Okay. But then you will see there's a lot of development in the shipping sectors. Yeah. So there's a lot of very amazing there. Yeah. And then we will talk about the carbonizations. Yeah. So this is also a hot topic in today communities. Yeah. People talk about the climate change, those things. And finally, I would touch about some implication on teaching. I will quote some example we are doing now in Hong Kong. Yeah. Okay. Then there's a lot of shipping technologies. Okay. The most very attractive one is autonomous ships. Okay. I know the previous talk keynote already talked about the autonomous ships. So from our point of view is autonomous ships is all those unmanned ships. Okay. It not only because they are operating without any crew on board. Okay. More importantly, they can change the operations. They change the shipping cycle. Maybe originally we need to follow our life cycle, say the lunchtime, the dinner time. But when we talk about the autonomous ships, all those human cycle can be ignored. Yeah. Then we may work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Then in terms of business, yeah, they will be they can reduce the idle time very significantly. Yeah. Then at the end, our product or goods cost will be reduced. Yeah. So that's a very attractive. Yeah. So I don't touch about the technical side. Okay. Yeah. Then the second one is today is a lot of attention have been paid to is the electric and hybrid propulsion. Yeah. So we are talking about different field to work together. Conventional field, this is a very mature technologies. Yeah. So we still rely on that. Yeah. At the same time, we still want to have some new type of a field so that we can enhance or protect our environment. At the same time, we could allow some transition of the field. Yeah. because we know later we will discuss, because we want to have a better environment, but then we need to use a better fuel, but we could not do it by one step. Okay, we need to do it bit by bit. Yeah. So very importantly, we can have some transition period. Then we can use this hybrid system. So in terms of fuel case, okay, you will expect that that will be also will impact our shipping cycle there. So other fuel is being considered like a LNG, like a biofuels, hydrogen and ammonia. Yeah, and you may know, okay, the hydrogen now is a LNG is quite popular now, especially China demand of LNG as the fuel. Biofuel is also is being promoted from the South America, yeah, like Brazil, like Thailand. They promote a lot of biofuels there. Hydrogen, hydrogen is a Japanese is encouraged leading the hydrogen research, yeah. And alumina is a Singaporean. Since they select the alumina, maybe their future focus, yeah. So there's a lot of fuel is being now in the market, and then it seems a different country or different location has different perspective, yeah. So that will be make the shipping industry very interesting, yeah. Another one is we're using today a lot of big data technology to enhance the energy. Yeah. So one very special consideration like how design, another like how to recover the heat. Also have a different like a weather routing system. All these things can help our shipping cycle. Yeah. So in the past, we quite rely on a lot of experience. Okay, so today we can use the technology to make a good forecast. Yeah, so all these things also will enhance the shipping industry. Yeah, and also reduce the idle time. Those things. Other things are being happened maybe in the last few years since a very attractive like a digitalization and IoT. I guess you know Maersk and other some leading liner shipping firm, they are promoting the IoT, yeah, especially during the COVID-19 period, 2019 to 2020, 2021. Most liner firm have make a lot of profit, yeah, good money, so that they are willing to invest in these technologies. So we expect that they will come to the reality, come to the practice soon, yeah. Then we will also have enhance the shipping technologies in particular. And the boat train technologies also will help us. Some other things extended to the construction, yeah. Not only for the traditional manufacturing products and also the construction product documentations, all will speak to the boat train technology, yeah. So it come together will enhance the autonomous ships, yeah. The first one, okay. The first technologies, okay, coming to the reality. And the final one, people may not think about, also very important for shipping sector is that there's a 3D printing. Yeah. Just some question, people talk about that. Okay, in case your ship has, say, especially autonomous ships, they get some trouble in the middle, some area, then how can we do the quick repair, okay, or maintenance? So if we use a 3D printing, then maybe a ship can get, say, need some urgent repair or maintenance. Then when the building ships getting order, repair ship getting order, then they can prepare the special parts, okay, and then they will deliver the 3D printing, so that they can make the quick replacement or at least some quick fix, okay, on spot, okay, on site. So overall, based on these 7 technologies, okay, you can see in future we can expect the shipping center cycle will be enhanced. Okay, shipping cycle will be very quick. The idle time will also will be reduced. Yeah, so all these things will help us, okay, to reduce the cost, make our globalization better. Yeah. Then there's another problem is how can we make our life better? Yeah. Yeah. So people more concerned about the environment and ecology. Okay, so this is a summary summarized by the Marine Insights. Okay, so this is very that's a very popular magazines. So it summarized. There's a lot of things actually being developed. Okay, in the industry. Yeah, like they making some new how design some different even the printing different lubricants the population system the nozzling system fuel system. Okay, all these things come together. You can see all the part from the head to the tail along the ships. Heavy part, okay, is being enhanced. So although each the part may be improve say 20% to 40%, okay, but you can see in general, although altogether will make the shipping sector very green, okay, and also environmental friendly. It seems that we have talked a lot of some technologies, okay, but there's something is actually being put in practice, or at least on the on-spot experiment. Okay, like this one, you may heard about that. The Maersk tanker, they just use some wind energy so that they can save. They have done the tax, the on-site tax. Okay, in 2018 and 2019, they found that the fuel consumption can be reduced to the 8.2%. Okay, because especially when the oil price getting so heavy, okay, expensive. Yeah, they found that is a very a good save. Okay, and the service provider, the technical team, okay, they expect they can save about 7 to 10%. Okay, for fuel consumption. So that's a very important saving. Another one is the hybrid technologies, hybrid fuels ships. Okay, like a CMA, GGM. They also you see this ship is very special design because on one side is the green color, the other side is a blue color. So they just try to use their color code, okay, to echo. This is a hybrid system. So for this case, for these ships, okay, a lot of new ships you will see, they will have a two tower. One is for the conventional fuel. The other part is for the LNG or other fuel. So this is a hybrid system. They expect, okay, they can reduce the emission, okay, say up to 85% for the NOxes or carbon dioxide, okay, by 20%. So there's a lot of saving, okay, is happening behind, okay, the screen, okay. Even you may not be able to see that, okay, easily. Then that would be something like how we could enhance the environment. Okay, we talk about the different carbonizations. Yeah, I guess there's a three major approach. One is about how to do the low carbon enhancement. So if we adopt the low carbon approach, okay, then we will use say something like LNG or methane, those things. This type of fuel is available in the market already. Yeah. So this type of approach is the capital cost is especially not very high. Okay, it's ready. The infrastructure in general is ready. Then easy to handle. The middle one you will see. The middle one you will see is something like we call the net zero. Okay, because of the net zero means that around 2050. Okay, as established by the IMO, we need to achieve this net zero target. And this type of fuel, if we want to achieve this net zero, okay, approach, then likely we will adopt the biofuels, methane, those things. Today, this type of technology is not mature yet, okay, not ready yet. But in general, they're safe, yeah. And but the fuel cost is especially a bit high, okay, because the technology is not ready yet, okay. The long-term solution will be zero carbon, like we adopt aluminum or hydrogen. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, hydrogen since have been chosen by Japanese, and aluminum since selected by Singaporean. Yeah, so they are driving these two fuel, okay, in the shipping. So they do a lot of research there. Yeah. So, but we expect this is a long-term solution. Okay, talking about the zero carbon, but they are not ready. They are far from ready. Yeah. So we will see how the technology will go. Then the propulsion system. Okay, you will see that's the 4 major one is now available in the market. The first one is a conventional engine. So in terms of size, it's quite large. The second one is the electric motors. One beauty to adopt the electric motor is the size is very small, okay, compared to the conventional engine. Although their power and other things are not very strong today, okay, they may be only good enough for the passenger ships. For cargo ship, maybe they are not ready, but if you're talking about the size and for the cargo, then they save a lot, okay, yeah, for the capacity, yeah. So another one is a more ready technology is that we can use something like energy storage systems. We can use some battery or other like a hydrogen fuel to replace, okay, those storage. It will help, okay, the electric motors, because the electric motor, if we adopt it today, it take a long time to recharge those battery on board, okay. If you use this type as a energy storage system, okay, then we can recharge it more easily. Yeah. Another thing is that we can use the wind power, solar panel, and other like hydrogen fuels. All these things are now being under test, but we expect that they will become to the reality soon. So you will see there's some different there's 4 major competition, okay. If you want to compare that in terms of readiness, okay, we can use this to say the 7 key barriers, okay, in terms of the initial cost, the space limitation, some other consideration like a waste, like a volume, infrastructure, whether the infrastructure is ready or not, the maintenance is ready or not, technology is mature or not, or other like regulation ready or not. You will see now today is a conventional engine is very ready, so that's why we use it. That so there's no major barrier because they are mature. Electric motors are coming. Most things are being reduced.
Excuse me, Dr.
Yes.
Your time will be 2 minutes more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your reminding. Okay, Chairman. So the other 2 is that we're not very mature, so we will see how we could see the technology will advance. Okay. So my the implication for the teaching is maybe we'll cut it short. Okay. So now we need to bring the student from the classroom to the reality. Okay. We cannot stay in the classroom all the time. We need to interact with the industry because industry is changing so much. Okay. So it's already advancing so quickly. We will see the environment is different from what I was a student. Okay. So we would like to get the student involved and also try to bring students back when they are in the industry, then bring them back to the classroom so that they can bring the latest knowledge to the classroom. Yeah. So that's why we developed something like a marine tech method to enhance our teaching, to bring the classroom to the industry and also bring the industry back to the classroom. So that you will see some example here. We bring the student to the firefighting area so that they can see how they can experience the real environment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. So I just cut a little bit short. Especially the last part is you have any special question, you are welcome, encouraged to email me, or we can talk later Q&A session. Yeah. Thank you very much, Chairman. I pass back the floor to you. Yeah. Okay. So
thank you very much indeed for your comprehensive presentations.
Stop sharing.
The presentation you have delivered today, then there are 6 subtopics. However, the 6 subtopics will be as follows. Number 1, concerning autonomous ship. Number 2, propulsion system, which consists of 5 areas, as they are: firstly, electric and hybrid propulsion power system. Secondly, alternative fuel. Thirdly, energy efficiency. Fourthly, energy storage system. The fifth, alternative energy. Number 3, digitalizations on supply chains management, cargo tracking, document processes, and 3D printing. Number 4, ultimate green ship, design on hull structures, rotor sail, rudders, propeller, and etc. Number 5, comparison advantage and disadvantage between conventional engine with electric motors, energy storage system, and alternative energy system. Number 6, teaching method applied at Department of Logistics and Marine Studies. Dr. T.L. Yip, thank you very much for sharing your valuable knowledge concerning these latest technologies. I'm pretty sure that this knowledge may be very useful for the review of curriculum for maritime education and training, either deck department or engine department at Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Again, give a big applause to Dr. T.L. Yip. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, sir. The 4 keynote speakers will be Professor Dr. Richard Birmingham from Newcastle University, London, United Kingdom. The title of presentation from Professor Dr. Richard Birmingham is Design for Uncertainty in the Maritime Words. But before the presentation, allow me to read his curriculum vitae as follows. His background is Professor of Small Craft Design and then President of the RINA, Royal Institution of Naval Architects, 2018 until 2020. His qualifications is a Chief Engineer in 1996 and then Bachelor Engineer from Newcastle 1991 and PhD from Newcastle 1994. His research interest is design methodologies applied in the marine environment, and then design of small craft, including working craft, such as tugs and fishing vessel, high-speed craft, and recreational craft. And then ecological sustainable recreational craft, design and production of traditional working craft in developing economies, and then sustainable operation of working craft in developing countries, and the stability of marine vehicle. His postgraduate supervision is consists of probabilistic damage stability regulation, safety of high-speed craft, and stabilization of fishing vessel, and many others. His esteem indicators, amongst other things, consist of President of RINA from 2018 to 2020, and then members of RNLI Technician Advisory Panel from 2017, member of Michigan S9 Advisory Board from 2016, ITS International Cooperation Award 2011 from ITS Surabaya, Indonesia, member of the boards of the MMO 2010 until 2013, fellow of the Royal Institution of Naval Architects National Committee. He involved in 4 committees, and then international commitment, member of the International Coordinating Committees of IMDC, International Marine Design Conference, members of International Coordinating Committees of PRATS, Practical Design of Ships and Offshore Structures Conference, coordinator of International Working Group on Student-Friendly Software in Marine Design, and many others. His editorial board membership, Indonesian Journal of Marine Technology Research, and the International Journal of Maritime Engineering. He teach on undergraduate studies and postgraduate studies. He has 71 publications. May I read 2 of his publication? First one, Enhance Structural Design and Operation of Search and Rescue Craft. And the second one, Full-Scale seakeeping trial of an all-weather lifeboat. Professor Birmingham, I'm very sorry, I'm not read all of your experience and so many publications. The time is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman, for your kind words. And it's a pleasure to join you in Indonesia. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but it's just a pleasure. I think that's the wrong presentation you have there. I could share my screen if that's easier. No, that's the wrong presentation.
Oh, beda dia presentasinya.
Shall I share my screen?
Excuse me, Professor. I believe that your presentation entitled Design for Uncertainty in the Maritime World.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. I can share my screen if that would help.
I see. You cannot share screen, I believe.
I can do. Let me try. Here we go.
Startnya 14.28. Dia akan berakhir 14.48. Aku akan remind 14. Yes, that's it.
How's that? Now, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it clearly.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to organize the my screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, thank you again for inviting me to participate in this conference. It's a great pleasure for me always to be involved with activities in Indonesia. So thank you so much. The main word in my title here, uncertainty and its impact of design in the maritime world, is that word uncertainty, because that's what I really want to speak about briefly this morning. So let's just think about uncertainty. Because of uncertainty, we cannot and never will be able to predict the future. Sorry, my screen is still a bit confusing for me. No, okay. So because of uncertainty, we cannot and never will be able to predict the future. So the future is always uncertain. However, much of the time, society can assume that things are going to be reasonably stable, or if not carrying on as they are, there will be a trend that we can recognize and identify. And so we can presume we will follow that trend and therefore make some assumptions about what the future will hold. When this is proved wrong and the unexpected happens, as long as it doesn't happen too often, then the ramifications of the unexpected can be coped with. So if, in a way, our world is sort of based on that idea of a certain degree of stability, with the unexpected being an unusual event. However, today, we're living in a world that is a very different place than what it has been in the past. And one thing that we can be certain about for the future is that we are no longer in a period of stability, and that there are multiple crises acting upon all of society. So what we can be certain about is that the future is uncertain, and that there will be much more of the unexpected than we've been used to in the past. My screen isn't playing with me. I'm sorry, the screen is frozen. There we go. So, so with that as an introduction to where I'm going, thinking about uncertainty in our uncertain world, this is a quick overview of what I plan to talk about. Firstly, I'll think about our changing world and think about the crises that are really forcing those changes upon us. Then I will think briefly about the most recent crisis that we've had to endure, that is of the COVID-19 and the lessons that can be learned from that. And that leads us to the idea that we really have to plan for the unknown. And how do we do that? And in particular, of course, we're thinking about the maritime world and so the design of ships. So how do we design for that uncertainty? I'll take the example, which we've already explored a little bit in the previous keynote, which is main machinery and the fuel that we're going to use. So I'll use that as an example and then try and derive from that a sort of a procedure that we might be able to apply when we're thinking about design for uncertainty in a more general sense. And then we'll look at the impact of all of this on maritime education. Thinking about the crises that we're presented with at the moment. For all of society, there are many crises that are ongoing at this time, or we can see approaching, they're looming on our horizon, if you like. So probably the most significant of these is the climate crisis, which is going to impact on us in many different ways, changing sea levels, water shortages in many parts of the world, food security is clearly an issue, and other impacts that are going to affect all of us. Tied in with the climate crisis is the energy crisis, that our desire or imperative to decarbonize everything that we do is forcing us to rethink how we obtain energy and how we use energy. So that's another crisis that is linked. Then on a different one is the migration crisis. This is partly coming out of water and food security, water shortage and food security, of course. But the impacts of the climate crisis are forcing, and other things are forcing many people to wish to leave their own part of the world and move to other parts. And this is putting huge pressures on all sorts on infrastructure in all sorts of ways. And then, of course, the international tensions, which are increasing at this moment in my part of the world. The Ukrainian war, of course, is impacting on us hugely, as it is on other parts of the world. But this isn't the only conflict that is going on around the world. There are many other tensions, and these are we can see are perhaps looming crises in many areas. And then cybersecurity, we had in the last presentation and previous presentations a lot about the Internet of Things. As we become more and more dependent on that sort of technology, so the opportunity for criminal activity around that technology increases. All these crises are interlinked, and we can think of them together as presenting an existential threat to society. And these are forcing us to take action. That's the big picture. But if we think of ourselves as engineers and what our engagement with these is, we can actually come down from that very high level view to see that all of these crises are actually presenting us with specific challenges. And we as engineers are able to respond to those specific challenges in order to try and alleviate or mitigate some of the consequences of these crises. So let's just very briefly think about our recent experience of a really significant crisis that impacted every one of us throughout the world, and that is the COVID-19 crisis. If we just think back briefly on the sort of impacts that had on us, And there were, cruises cancellations and cruise ships laid up all around the world. Alongside that was the whole problem of ports being closed down due to concerns about infection and staff shortages and so on. Air travel also was practically shut down, and those aircraft that were trying to still operate had major issues of over crew changes, people were in the wrong places and so on. So that led to difficulties even once we started to try and open up the airways. There were sickness and quarantines, which caused staff shortages in all sorts of industries, almost every industry. So these are just some of the things that we can remember from the recent past. When we think about the big picture in the maritime world, particularly, there was huge logistic disruption, and also, of course, huge costs and losses that hadn't been expected, hadn't been planned for, hadn't been budgeted. Though some people, of course, benefited from the crisis and were able to make unexpected profits. So that's just a reminding ourselves of what was going on in the very recent past with this major crisis of COVID-19. During that pandemic, individuals, organizations, and society as a whole had to get used to the idea of uncertainty in every aspect of life. We couldn't make any plans with any level of confidence that we would be able to implement them. Whether it was just a meeting with friends or launching a new product, a new ship, for example, and so on, we might plan for it, but we had no certainty that plan would be able to be carried out, that there would be disruption. The likelihood of disruption was very high. And so, if you like, what we learned from COVID-19 was we had to expect the unexpected, and that we had to plan for unknown things happening and getting in the way of what we wanted to do. The COVID-19 crisis feels like it's behind us now, is largely behind us, which we can all be thankful for. But that crisis may be receding behind us, but there are many other crises that are still around us and that are coming towards us as well. And so we need to take the lessons from the COVID-19 crisis and use them as we go into the future. And the big lesson, of course, is that we do need to plan for the unknown, because we can expect increased uncertainty and major levels of uncertainty. So planning for the unknown. As naval architects, marine engineers, ship designers, the product that we work with, ships, so in our world of ship design, build and operation, we are working with an extended life cycle. Ships we normally think of as having a lifespan of 25 years, but in practice we know that actually many ships operate far longer than that, many years or even decades longer than that. So we have a long time horizon which we're trying to design for. So we normally, when we're designing a ship, we normally consider what are the requirements that are going to be needed over the next 25 years. However, in this era of uncertainty, how can we really know what the requirements are going to be in 10 years' time, never mind in 15 and 20 years' time? So many areas are increasingly uncertain. And if we briefly just think about what the main areas are, regulations. We know there are more regulations coming towards us, particularly around emission reduction requirements. We don't know exactly what those regulations are going to be. We don't know just when they're going to be implemented. In fact, when our governments announce what they're going to do about, when they're going to say we can't drive fossil fuel cars anymore or something like that, then they keep bringing that timeline closer and closer. So even when we think we have some certainty about what's going to happen, it changes again. Physical conditions, because of the climate crisis, the world is changing. Ice cover over the Arctic is reducing. In what time frame, it is impossible or difficult to predict. The frequency of typhoons and their severity is changing as well. So what does that mean? What are we going to see on the oceans in 10, 15, 20 years' time? Economic changes are happening, fuel prices, freight rates, and so on. We've always had that as an uncertainty in our planning, of course, but perhaps we can anticipate the volatility in these areas being greatly increased. And then technological issues. We had to look at all the different technologies in the last keynote, all the different technologies that are or will be available to us. However, it is that will be, and a lot of these technologies are in their infancy, or even if they're well down the road to development, they're not really able to be implemented on a global scale as yet, and so on. So when are these technologies really going to be available to us at a cost that we can afford? So these are the major areas of uncertainty that we're faced with, and as designers, we have to design with these uncertainties in mind. So let's just take that fuel and machinery. It was explored a little bit in the previous keynote. I'm going to look at it perhaps from a slightly different angle. But let's take that as an example of how can we design for uncertainty. There is a huge debate at the moment about what is the source of energy that we're going to use for ships in the future. It was mentioned the sort of different approaches that are being taken by Japan and by Singapore. So if we're operating a ship, or we are going to operate a ship in the future, which of those technologies is the one that's going to win out? Which is the one that everyone is going to be using? And we don't as yet know the answer to that. Let's explore this a little bit more. Society is increasingly demanding low or even zero carbon future. And so the expectations of that are that the source of our energy in the future will be green, and that we will minimize the utilization of energy as far as possible. So we know that at some point in the future, the shipping industry will have to be less reliant on fossil fuels. And this will be because regulations will impose it upon us. Carbon taxes will perhaps put it out of our reach, or if not carbon taxes, fuel prices themselves will put it out of reach. So we know that at some point we're going to have to move away from fossil fuels. But we don't know what the fuel of the future will be. We know there are options, but we don't know which one it will be the ubiquitous one, or when the necessary technology is going to be ready to use the fuels that we perhaps would like to use. So let's think about that. Let's explore that uncertainty a little bit more. The routes to decarbonisation of fuels are to move from fossil fuel to biofuels, fuels derived from biological sources, and move to the electro production of fuels using renewable energy. So we're looking to, instead of using fossil fuels, to use biofuels or e-fuels. Many of the fuels that we use at present could be derived from biological sources or created from using electrical energy. So the fuels, we have a list of fuels: diesel, LNG, LPG, methanol, ammonia, hydrogen. So we know about these fuels, and all of them could be bio or e-fuels. But at this moment in time, none of them as bio or e-fuels are really viable, perhaps on a small scale or in a regional basis, but not in terms of fueling a fleet of container ships or something like that. So none of them are viable at this moment. And it's not clear which of these choices is going to be are going to be viable in the future, or which ones are going to be the ones that most people are using.
Excuse me, Professor, your time within 2 minutes. Again.
Okay, I'll try and get through this quickly for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
So we've got that choice of fuels, and we're wanting to think which is going to be the lowest cost, and we've got to take account of price of the fuel, the machinery, the implications for the naval architecture, and what will be the cost of retrofits and so on. So which of the fuels will be, and which will be technically possible, and which fuels will be widely available. So a proposal way to do this, put forward by Benjamin Langman, I've got the reference at the bottom there, is that we explore multiple designs of vessel. the vessel needs to be one that can be built today, is viable today. So we look at different options that would be viable today. We also then look at what the midlife modifications that are going to be necessary. So we look at several options there. And then we undertake a full life costing, looking at numerous scenarios, taking account of all these different options first, and what they are at the beginning and what their midlife amendment will be. And then we look at the first cost, the operational cost, and in particular, the cost of the modification. And if we do that, we can identify robust designs. If we think about so this is my second from last slide, just a conclusion after this. If we think about the impact of design for uncertainty on maritime education, at the moment when we train our naval architects, we assume that the elucidation of requirements will identify a single ship that will be able to operate successfully throughout its 25 and more life. As educationalists, we will now have to explore how to introduce designing for uncertainty into that curriculum. At the moment, the major uncertainty is around green fuels, but in the future, other significant uncertainties will undoubtedly emerge. The work at the moment, and admittedly, design methodologists have not got far down how do we design for uncertainty, but it does suggest at the moment that we look at many preliminary designs and explore these with multiple scenarios in order to identify robust solutions. From the point of view of an educationalist, the naval architecture of designing a ship is not changed. It's just how do we elucidate the requirements, because this becomes a much more complex operation. Okay, so my last slide is in conclusion. As naval architects, we've always had to take account of an element of uncertainty, number of passengers, volume of cargo, and so on. In the past, we've dealt with this by a detailed elucidation of the requirements, and this has given us a proposed design that will be viable throughout its life. However, all these crises that are surrounding us today are forcing changes to society and to society's priorities. And as a result of that, we can be certain that there will be changes, but we are uncertain as to what those changes will be or how we're going to have to respond. A proposed way forward for this as designers is that we look at multiple scenarios, we explore those to identify a design that is viable today and is going to be able to accommodate the modifications necessary in the future. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to join you today. Let me try and
thank you very much for your comprehensive presentation, Professor Richard Birmingham. This presentation, from the overview, consists of 7 areas, while the conclusion consists of 4 items. Firstly, naval architects have always had to take account of an element of uncertainty. Second, a proposed design will be viable over the operational life. Thirdly, there is certainty that there will be change, but uncertainty as to what they will be or how to respond. Fourthly, in design, multiple scenarios will have to be explored to identify a design that is both viable today and be able to accommodate significant modification in the future. Professor, again, thank you very much for offering us the insight of impact of design for uncertainty on maritime education and the suggestion to introduce into the curriculum because the requirements become more complex. Thank you, professors.
Thank you.
Big applause for Professor Birmingham. Ladies and gentlemen, the last but not least, the 5th keynote speakers will be Dr. Inga Bartusevicienne, is professor from World Maritime University, Sweden. The title of her presentation is in conjunction with the WMU in its 40th anniversary. Unlike the former presentation, I always introduce the keynote speaker before delivering their presentation. But since Professor Inga is very busy and has a very limited time, Professor, would you kindly introduce yourself, for which I'm very grateful. Professors, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. And I will share. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I will introduce in the next slide, if it's possible. But let me firstly,
Yes, please.
Congratulate Barumbong Maritime Polytechnic with such a nice international seminar and 43rd anniversary. And I would like to mention several names which are very important, I think, in this event, such as Dr. Joka Sasono, Head of Human Resource Department of Transportation Agency, Dr. Captain Anthony Arif Priadi, the Transportation Minister expert and WMU graduate, Captain Muhammad Abdul, Director of Barumbong Maritime Polytechnic, Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa, Rector of Hasanuddin University, Dr. Tsing Yong Lin, Hong Kong Polytechnic University, Professor Dr. Richard Birmingham from Newcastle University, and Mr. Ahmad Fauzi, who invited me to share my ideas. So, Salamat Siang and good afternoon, because in your country it's afternoon, in my country it's still morning. And it's my honor and the privilege to take part at the international seminar. And I'm happy to share my ideas about the future of seafaring, shipbuilding, and their impact on maritime education and training. In my view, discussing this topic is extremely important because this topic not only shapes the future of a maritime industry, but also impacts the way we, maritime education and training professionals, educate and train local and global maritime professionals. So, heartily, please accept my heartiest congratulations for 43rd anniversary. I don't know, it's not working. Oh, yes. And I would like to acknowledge and express my deepest appreciation of important achievements of your educational institution. As I was informed, since 2019, Barumbong Merchant Marine Polytechnic carries out diploma training for the second and third officers, both nautical and marine engineering department. Also, Barumbong Maritime Polytechnic managed to recruit and sustain the competent faculty with appropriate educational and professional background, including seagoing service. And this is very important achievement. We need educators in our institutions. And the faculty is very much involved in the research activities. During last 3 years, they performed a lot of researches and presented results at the conferences. So I congratulate again the leaders and the management and all staff and students for this, with these considerable achievements. And I believe that in coming years, we will, all maritime community, appreciate more and more significant achievements of your maritime education and training institution. So probably some of you know that this week WMU is celebrating 40th anniversary. And your institution is a little bit more experienced than our university. So, and today the program is dedicated to alumni. And I will explain a little bit of WMU activities in order to support alumni and develop network of all maritime professionals around the world. And I am extremely happy to see my colleagues Ahmad Fauzi and Captain Dr. Anthony Arif Priadi, the graduates of WMU. Probably there are more graduates. And I also would like to congratulate all of us, graduates of WMU, the 40th anniversary of WMU. So, I will introduce a little bit myself, and I'm in MET, in Maritime Education and Training, for more than 20 years. So I used to work in Lithuanian Maritime Academy. It's a small country on the Baltic Sea, just across the Baltic Sea, 300 kilometers from Sweden. So I was working as Vice Director for Academic Affairs, International Relations and Projects, and also Associate Professor. And recently, for the 4th year, I am part of MET team at WMU, and I'm happy to share my experience, which I had in my original country with students from around the world. My educational background is not maritime. It's mostly educational. So I have PhD in Education Sciences, Master of Science in Maritime Affairs, with specialization in Maritime Education and Training at WMU, and Master of Science in Mathematics. And my recent research interests are related to educational effectiveness innovations, action research strategies in maritime. And also, recently, I want to make a lot of more research in mental health and well-being in maritime industry, because there are a lot of crises, as previous speakers probably introduced to you. And the issue of resilience, individual resilience, organizational resilience, resilience of the systems, I think it's of high priority now to understand and to build up the resilience, because we live in such an unpredictable world. So speaking about the future of seafaring and shipbuilding, we have to remember that seas have always held a sense of mystery, adventure, and opportunity. Seas have been crucial to trade, transportation, and exploration throughout the history. As we look into the future, we see a dynamic and evolving maritime industry that demands our attention and adaptation. Nowadays, global economy relies heavily on the shipping industry. And as technology continues to advance, our approach to educating professionals for this industry has to enhance as well. There are no doubts that recent technological, especially digital, societal, environmental, economic changes highly affect maritime industry. And we are witnessing remarkable advancements in technological innovation and shipping, in ship design, in propulsion systems, navigation tools, automation. Ships are becoming smarter, more efficient, and nowadays a lot of developments are related to autonomous ships. Artificial intelligence, big data analytics, Internet of Things are transforming the way industry will be operated and managed. In addition, the maritime industry is at the process of its technical, economic, and operational transformation as it prepares to transition to zero low greenhouse gas emissions. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is an inevitable challenge that the industry must effectively respond to, but it is simultaneously a great opportunity for building a more sustainable industry. Transportation and movement of goods and people never stop, because the needs of people have to be satisfied, and shipping was developed by people, is operated by people, functions for people. So people are at the center of all activities, and we have to care for them. So as MET professionals, we need to have this in mind. Education and research plays a pivotal role in facilitating a smooth transition in the maritime sector, as well as ensuring the capacities and build worldwide for sustainable energy technologies. Capacity building is essential to ensure the global effort towards zero and low emissions in international shipping to be successful. Saying that, there is no doubt that modern ships with latest technological developments will need the right kind of professionals. Education, training, and welfare are no longer the soft debates, but critical discussions about the future of the industry. However, it's very difficult to predict how the industry will look like in future and what kind of competencies of maritime professionals will be needed. We need to have in mind as well that training and education of professionals needs at least 5 years from developing the idea to fully developed study program and graduates prepared to be employed in the labor market. And we don't know what kind of changes will happen in 5 years. So there is a lot of challenges for maritime education and training institutions, for teachers, for administrative staff, for ministries supporting educational institutions in solving those issues. So recent developments present both opportunities and challenges for maritime education and training. And we embrace automation, digitization. We must ensure that our maritime professionals, including seafarers, are equipped with the skills to adapt these technologies. We need to develop programs that integrate technological literacy into maritime curricula, fostering a new generation of seafarers who are not only proficient in traditional maritime skills, but also adept at manning the power of technology, and at the same time, not to forget soft skills. Moreover, the future of shipbuilding will rely heavily on sustainable practices and eco-friendly designs. As the world recognizes the urgency of combating climate change, the maritime industry is under pressure to reduce its environmental impact. We are witnessing a shift toward cleaner fuels and adoption of renewable energy sources. The transition to greener shipping requires us to re-evaluate our approach to maritime education and training. We need to incorporate environmental awareness and sustainability principles into curriculum, ensuring that maritime professionals and seafarers are well educated in the latest practices for reducing emissions, optimizing fuel efficiency, and protecting maritime ecosystems. By instilling these values in our students, we can foster a culture of environmental protection that will benefit our oceans and generations to come. Furthermore, the future of seafaring demands a multidisciplinary approach to education and training. As future is becoming more complex and less predictable, maritime professionals need to process a diverse skill set and extend beyond traditional maritime knowledge. Collaboration with professionals from other fields, such as engineering, computer science, data analytics, is becoming increasingly vital. By encouraging interdisciplinary approach and collaboration, we can nurture and foster creative problem solving among all our future seafarers. To adapt the changing landscape of seafaring and shipbuilding, we must embrace lifelong learning. Continuous professional development and upskilling will be crucial for seafarers and maritime professionals to remain competitive and relevant in the industry. MIT institutions and training centers must establish partnership with industry stakeholders to ensure that their programs align with current needs of maritime industry. This collaboration will enable us to create a seamless transition from education to employment, equipping seafarers with the knowledge and skills required for successful career. So, in conclusion, to sum up my ideas, I would like to say that future of seafaring and shipbuilding holds great promise and potential. As we navigate this ever-changing landscape, we must adapt our approach to MIT. The educational institutions need to use a proactive approach. and be ready to respond to recent challenges and to present effective solutions to educate quickly adaptable specialists able to meet volatile labor market and challenges by integrating technology, sustainability, multidisciplinary approach, and lifelong learning into our programs. We can prepare a new generation of maritime professionals who are ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. So let us work together to shape a future of MET for greener shipping and sustainable and prosperous maritime industry. Now, I would like to share a little bit experience of WMU in approaching those issues. And let me shortly introduce my educational institution, World Maritime Institution, University, which I'm working now. So WMU was established in 1983 within the framework of International Maritime Organization, a specialized agency of United Nations. So the mission of WMU is to be the world center of excellence in postgraduate maritime and ocean education, professional training, and research while building global capacity and promoting sustainable development. And vision of WMU is to inspire leadership and innovation for sustainable maritime and ocean future. I would like to mention that there are almost 6,000 WMU alumni from 171 countries. And I'm happy to say that there are 183 graduates from Indonesia and only 9 from MET specialization. I think you have to encourage more students to join MET team in future. So you can imagine that WMU has a remarkable presence and remarkable, reliable network of maritime leaders in the global and maritime professionals in the global maritime sector. And WMU alumni assume prominent positions of prominence and around the world, such as ministers, senior maritime officials, directors of shipping companies and ports, and heads of maritime academies and naval organizations. One of the graduates recently is Secretary General of IMO. And you know, the next president of WMU, who will start his functions next week, is also WMU graduate, Professor Max Mahea. So alumni maintains close ties with each other, creating a unique maritime global network, and that increases by 350 graduates annually. And my personal opinion is networking is very important nowadays in this global world full of unpredictabilities. So students, with an average of 35 WMU students are mid-career professionals from across the broad spectrum of maritime occupations. Each year, across all programs, around 90 countries are represented. And faculty of W is also very much international. It consists around 30 full-time faculty and around 70 lecturers from more than 30 countries. So maritime WMU activities are very much related to, very much contributing to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as you can see on this slide. And WMU offers a lot of different kinds of activities and possibilities to develop maritime community, network, and maritime professionals. I just want to mention that we have Master of Science programs, we have PhD programs, we have master postgraduate diploma, professional development courses, according to the needs of professionals and organizations. And I would like, using this opportunity, I would like to announce that WMU will be launching the second report of a project funded by International Transport Workers Federation, which is called Transport 2040, Future of Work, Impact of Technology on Seafarers. And the report will be launched on the 26th of June, just in some days, in Manila. So this report is very much related to the topic of your seminar and provides insights to answer the questions: what is the impact of technology on seafarers? What is the role of reskilling and upskilling for emerging jobs? That's why I highlighted the possibilities of lifelong learning are extremely important nowadays. We will need to reskill and upskill our professionals. What is the role of automation and advanced technology in relation to the profiles of the job? What kind of technical and soft skills will be required by seafarers in short, mid, and long term? So those questions are answered in this report. Just for your information, the first report, Transport 2040, Automation Technology Employment, the Future of Work, was issued in 2019. And it can be obtained in Maritime Commons, a digital repository of Maritime of WMU. So I just would like to highlight what I said before, that MET has to take proactive roles in order to meet challenges and unpredictabilities we are facing, and just try to integrate technology into curricula, incorporate environmental awareness and sustainability principles in our curricula, use multidisciplinary approach, and also provide a lot of lifelong learning opportunities. Probably lifelong learning will be a little bit easier to conduct comparing to programs which we have to develop. As I said, one program needs to have 5 years from the development to graduate employee. Reskilling probably is the issue nowadays. So, as Nelson Mandela says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And let me congratulate once again Barumbong Maritime Polytechnic with 43rd anniversary and wish all success in transforming all challenges to the opportunities. And let's keep our network strong and supportive to save people and the planet for the future. And thank you very much. I wish you all the best. And unfortunately, I will not be able to take part in the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Professor Inga, first of all, allow me to convey our sincere gratitude by promoting the Barumbong Maritime Polytechnic concerning its most considerable achievement. Furthermore, thank you very much for your very informative presentation concerning at least 4 main areas. First, challenges as the impact of development of technology in maritime industry to the seafarers as well as to the shipbuilding. Secondly, about WMU vision, mission, environment, commitment to the UN Sustainable Development Goal, and contribution of the WMU as well as the global impact. Thirdly, motivation to the seafarers, as you explained that automation and advanced technology do not necessarily mean job losses. There is time to reskill and upskill for emerging jobs. Fourthly, the maritime education and training proactive approach, such as integration of technology in curricula that could be adopted by the Barumbong Maritime Polytechnic within the framework of strengthening the seafarers education and training in Indonesia. Again, thank you very much indeed for your presentation, although you are very busy since the WMU celebrate its 40th anniversary with quite an intensive program. Again, Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you, and all the best to Barumbong Maritime Polytechnics. And see you sometime somewhere, and hopefully in person.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you again.
I have to leave.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are arrived to the session for question and answer. But since the time is limited, we will respond based on the earliest incoming question. Ms. Kansata Ramarindra, would you kindly assist me to monitor the incoming question and address to the relevant presenters, for which I thank you for your cooperation, please.
All right, Cap Indra. So ladies and gentlemen, now we move to question and answer session. For those who are joining in this room, you may raise your hand. Please state your name, institution, question, and address to whom. And for those who are joining on Zoom meeting, please submit your question on chat column and state your name, institution, your questions, also addressed to whom. Okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 questions. The microphone, please. Stand up, please. The first question, okay. Stand up, please. Mention your name, institution, question, and address to whom.
Okay, thank you for opportunity. Good morning and a good afternoon. Thank you very much for the chance given to me. My name is Muhammad Israr. I'm cadet of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Allow me to ask questions, sir, to Mr. TLEIP Hong Kong Polytechnic. We are to be going to the era of autonomous ship. What do you think about the impact of unmanned transportation for developed countries and developing countries? Thank you, sir.
Hi, hello. Yeah, hope you can hear me. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
yes, we can hear you. Please start clear.
yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much for the question. And first, although we are doing a lot of research on the autonomous ships, but we expect, okay, honestly, okay, it may not be realized very soon. Yeah. Because the ship itself is very expensive. Okay. I think we still need human, okay, on board or somewhere, so that the operation safety will be maintained, okay, at a very high level. Although maybe in the Navy, when you treat ship as a weapon, maybe, yeah, the autonomous operation may be more reliable, okay, yeah, because we know the human life is very important, yeah. But we still think in the commercial sector, okay, we still need a lot of people on board, yeah. Then back to the education side, we still believe that, okay, although the things are being advanced, okay, technology is being advanced, yeah, but we still quite believe that, okay, the education is still very human centered, yeah. But the problem is that we just don't know, okay, the future direction. As the other keynote speaker mentioned, okay, the future a bit difficult for us to forecast, yeah, and predict, yeah. So I don't have an answer to the question, okay, honestly, yeah. Thank you very much, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next question, please, from the left side of the stage.
Okay, thank you, sir. My name is Heni Wahyuningsih. I am as a lecturer of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. My question to Mr. TL Hips about shipping technology and better shipping for everyone. My question is, within ships, technology is closer to high cost. What do you think about that? How to make it enable green ship technology can be used by all countries, especially poor country. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so the energy cost is very high. Okay, especially for the developing countries. Okay, I would see. Okay, now the developed countries like European, they drive a lot on this type of research. Okay, as I mentioned, Japan. Okay, as promoting the hydrogen. China is doing LNG, and then Singapore is promoting the aluminium. Yeah. So for the different country, I think that will be somehow maybe they a lot ready to adopt the latest technology. Okay, because they are quite expensive, but that will be good. Okay, so that when the technology become more mature. Okay, yeah, like a hydrogen and aluminum. Yeah, when they become more mature, then we could yeah, adopt those technologies. Okay, at the lower cost. Okay, so I would say some country like Indonesia, we call this middle income countries. Yeah, in general. Okay, yeah. So that would be good. Okay, we can wait a little bit. Okay, we don't need to compete against the latest technology. Okay, back to the theme of this conference. The conference is talk about the maritime. Okay, it's not about the technologies. So we expected to make good use of the maritime sector, rather than adopt the technology too early. Yeah, because as a yeah, just like the other two keynote speaker mentioned, technology are a bit different. Yeah, they are competing. Okay, each other. We don't know which one will dominate. Okay, so it's better to adopt those new technologies at the lower cost at the later stage. Yeah. So, but for educator, okay, like the lady, okay, mentioned, it will be good. Okay, we acquire the knowledge for time being. Okay, prepare our next generation to be ready for those technology. Okay, but we don't need to adopt those technologies. The industry, okay, may don't need to adopt those technologies at that time. Yeah. Hope it. This is my sharing. Okay. Hope you find it helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question, please. Over there.
All right, so good morning and good afternoon, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I would like to address this question to Professor Richard Birmingham.
Sorry, your name and institution, sir?
My name is Hamka. I'm one of the instructor of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Thank you. Okay, the title of his presentation is Uncertainty and its Impact on Design in the Maritime World. I'd like to ask about his initial thought before doing the research, because he has clearly stated in his findings some solutions more or less. So the question is more like, what is, in your perspective, aside from your finding, what's the best scenario can you think of this uncertainty and its impact on design in the maritime world? Let me repeat my questions. I'd like to ask about your initial thought before you do this research, because you have clearly stated some solutions more or less in your finding. So what is the best scenario can you think of in your initial thought about this uncertainty and its impact on design in the maritime world? Because for me personally, it is the industry itself, it is the industry's self-interest to act now despite the uncertainty. Although we know that uncertainty is inescapable. So what is your the first initial thought before doing this research? Thank you, Professor.
Professor Birmingham.
Yes, thank you for the question. It's a interesting one. if I can sort of break it, if I understand you correctly, break it down into two parts. What's my sort of first thoughts? Where did this come from? Perhaps you're asking, and then the concern about industry's self-interest, which I think is a really important one. So just to say that the first thoughts, and my interest in this really comes out to the fact that we know there's going to be change. So how do we design things that are future-proofed? That when we design, if we design and build something, that it is not in 5 years' time going to become redundant and overtaken by events. How do we make sure that what we design is future-proofed? And that means that the object itself, in this case a ship or a boat, can be modified to take account of changes in the future. And this, for me, this concern came out of working with the RNLI, the British Lifeboat Institution, who realised that their lifeboats, that these are search and rescue craft that were made from fiberglass, could, although they were designed for 25 years, they could actually last for, the hull could last for 50 years or maybe even more. And so they were going, why do we have to throw away something that could last for another 25 years? And the only way you don't throw it away is if you can actually change the machinery, change the fuel and so on. So how do you design things that you can keep updating successfully? And that means you have to design it with the opportunity to change it in the future. So you don't lock it into one system, you don't lock it into one fuel type, but you make it easy to change that fuel system, easy to change the machinery, easy to change the electronics, which are changing more rapidly than anything else, perhaps, and so on. So that was where my interest was around, was raised by this. You mentioned the point of industry self-interest, and you're quite right. Industry self-interest will drive so many of the decisions. The only way we can, society can influence industry self-interest is through regulations and taxation, such as carbon taxes and so on. So industry self-interest can be pushed in the direction that society wants it to, provided politicians are prepared to have the courage to force industry in the directions that are needed. But with that in mind, industry has to be aware that what seems to be in their self-interest at this moment could be detrimental to them in 5 years' time or 10 years' time when the regulations have changed. And so that's why even industry working in their own self-interests has to look to the future and think, what are the regulations going to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? And how am I going to make sure that what I've produced is going to continue to be profitable and not become, it's great, it's making more money than anyone else today, but in 5 years' time, suddenly it's become obsolete and things have moved on. So even industry self-interest forces that. And if I can just carry on for one moment, an interesting example of this, it was mentioned in Dr. Yip's presentation about the use of air lubrication. Air lubrication to reduce the resistance of ships. Air lubrication has been around for decades. People have thought about it for many, many years, and yet and was played around with, could it work and so on, certainly in the 90s, if not before that. The 1990s, if not before that. However, now suddenly it has become actually something that people are implementing. And so what has happened in that time, and what has happened is that whereas before it was, the decisions were driven by the profit motive and you couldn't make it profitable, now the decision is being driven by the imperative driven by regulations to reduce emissions. So regulations are saying you must reduce emissions, and so even though it's going to cost more, you have to do it in order to reduce the emissions. And so suddenly air lubrication, which wasn't a viable technology, 20, 25 years ago, even though it was understood, has become a viable technology that is being implemented in all sorts of vessels today. So here's an example where circumstances have changed. So industry, has to respond not just to today, but has to respond to what is going to be happening in the future in order to ensure continued profitability. I hope that has to some extent answered your question.
Thank you, Professor Birmingham. Now I will give opportunity to Zoom participant. The first question is coming from Huske from Siman Jaya MTC. This question is addressed to Dr. Captain Anthony relating to autonomous ship system. The first question, cost of ship's operation will be higher or cheaper? The second question, it will purpose for cargo vessel or passenger vessel? The third question, security systems such as ISPS code concerned if passing pirate area, how to handle it? The fourth, if any trouble engine system in middle of sea such as blackout, how to handle the ship which is unmanned ship, especially quick response to avoid any evac of danger to other vessels or the others. Thank you. Cap Indra, maybe you can send those questions directly to Captain Anthony later. All right. The second question is coming from Mr. Taufan Agasta to Mr. T.L. Yip. What can we do to realize maritime education based on cutting-edge technology, especially related to the issue of automation? Dr. T.L. Yip, okay?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, okay. So, all the questions are very interesting. Yeah, but the problem is that most questions, we may not have a ready answer. Okay, yeah. So for this question, okay, I would say, because we are in the maritime sector. Okay, so one side we know we need to adopt the technologies like the automations, but the other side, we would like focus more on the human side as well. Okay, so we will try to bring the automation, okay, and other technologies to or the latest knowledge to the classroom, to the students. But on the other hand, we still want to emphasize the human side. So we like to bring people together. So from the slide you see, although we are where we now say we can do it, say the on Zoom, online classroom meeting, but we would like to bring the student on board and so that they can feel physically, okay, the environment, yeah, the water, the wind, those things. So try to bring that's some human touch there, yeah. So to address this question, okay, how we could use the technology to make a better maybe education, especially we have a lot of automations there. My answer is one side we would like to let the student to know how the environment like to be, okay, but on the other side we still want our student to appreciate, okay, the human touch, the human elements, okay, still actually it's more important behind those technologies, yeah. This is also this is my sharing, okay, yeah, try to not so technical, yeah. Thank you very much, yeah.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Mr. Agus Dwi Santoso, and the question is addressed to Professor Birmingham. What consideration should be taken into account when exploring multiple scenarios in design of maritime education curriculum to ensure the chosen design is not only viable in the present, but also capable of accommodating significant modifications in the future?
Thank you. Thank you for, yes, an interesting question. And the one-word answer is simulation. The when we're looking at multiple scenarios, if we're going to explore multiple scenarios, what we have to be able to do is to simulate the behavior of specific cases, specific ships in different situations. So it is that ability to simulate, and I don't mean simulate in terms of seakeeping or something like that. I mean simulation in terms of economic simulation, being able to work out what the costs implied are and so on. So the example I gave in my talk from Benjamin Langerman's PhD, his work involved a huge amount of simulation, thousands of cases being explored in all sorts of different situations and so on. And from those thousands of cases, he could produce graphs and identify what would be the best. Now that level or quantity of simulation is incredibly expensive and time consuming. It was, after all, a PhD thesis. So he had several years in order to undertake this work. In the education environment, in the curriculum is what should the curriculum contain? I think we have to identify rapid ways to do that simulating in order that students can actually practice trying to run through different scenarios and so on. And we can use much more simplified systems. We can just use Excel spreadsheets and so on to create a simplified model of the aspects that we want to explore, and then demonstrate to the student that you can change different parameters in the model and get different results. And you need to be able to do that rapidly for a large number of cases in order to explore the design space as we go forward into different futures, different probable or possible situations that these ships are going to be operating in, situations in terms of regulations, costs, and so on. So I think it is understanding the value of simulation and how that can be used is what really needs to be brought into the educational curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Birmingham. Another question, please, from this room. Please raise your hand. Okay, please stand up. Mention your name, institution, question, and address to whom.
Well, my name is Subhan. I am the part of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. First, I would like to send my appreciation to Barombong Maritime Polytechnic, who has held this international conference. I'm so glad to be the part of this conference because I get a lot of new insight about the maritime study itself. For the first question, it refers to the third speaker. In your presentation just now, that you already mentioned about autonomous ships, but unfortunately, I can't get the point about the advantages and disadvantages about the autonomous ships itself. So it will be better if you give us a point of view about the advantage and disadvantage of this autonomous ship itself. And the second question is about the teaching method, still for the third speaker, because the third speaker just now already mentioned about the teaching method in maritime itself. I get curious about how to handling maritime study in the class, because for myself as an educator, I get an interest about what kind of method, the effective method to teach about maritime in this classroom. And the third question refers to the fourth speaker. In the beginning of the presentation until the last of the presentation, you already mentioned about the green ship itself, but unfortunately, you are not give us about how much the cost, because for me myself, I couldn't compare between which one is better if there's no something that we can compare about the green ship itself, about the zero carbon itself, and the other one. So I can conclude that it is the better one. Is it the best one to apply or not? I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So your questions are addressed to Dr. T.L. Yip, is it correct? And Professor Birmingham?
Yes.
Okay, correct. So Dr. T.L. Yip, you're gonna first to answer the questions.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So first, I have some question. Maybe I share something on, although the question is not to me, but for other speaker. But I just take the advantage, okay, to talk about the autonomous ships first. Okay, yeah. So yeah, because I'm also doing some research on the autonomous ships. The advantage of having an autonomous ships, there's some advantage, okay, yeah, in terms of the business side, okay. First, because they will not have a human on board, okay, human beings on board, so we can have a more capacity to transport cargo, yeah. So that means that the capacity is getting more, yeah. And also, for we don't need to address the human, yeah, natures or issues. So in general, the operation, the ship operation, those cycle could be more flexible, more adaptive. So that is some advantage. Okay, so people believe that the autonomous ship will be good. Okay, in terms of business, yeah, perspective, yeah. So back to the question directed to me, okay, about the teaching method, okay. So the general principle is we will try to bring the student to the industry, yeah. So just make sure that the student know the latest development in the industry, yeah. So because the industry is changing so quickly, yeah. Just like a few years ago, we don't use a smart device, but now smart devices is being so popular. So we need to use it every day. Okay, yeah, really. And also, in the past, we travel a lot. Okay, for me, I usually need to fly, even I'm working in the university. Okay, because I need to get touch with other maritime people, so I need to travel a lot. Yeah, so that. But today, we can reduce that. Okay, although it will also, yeah, change the environment. Yeah, so we want our students know that. Okay, how the new setting have been adopted. Okay, how we could show our human touch through the screen, online, yeah, radiation and other things. At the same time, on the other hand, we try to bring our alumni, our graduate students, back to the classroom, yeah, so that they can share, okay, what's the latest experience, okay, from the industry. Because somehow, sometimes maybe my knowledge is not so up to date, but our young graduate could do it better, okay, so that they can share, okay, what's happening, for example, the LNG ships, what happening in the LNG ships, what is happening on other type of technologies, how they adopt it in the real environment, yeah, so that they can share it with their younger classmates, yeah. So that's the way, okay, we try to make our classroom more interactive, yeah, okay, and also across different generations, yeah. Then we also use some simulation or technology to enhance our environment, yeah, just like Dr. Professor which Birmingham mentioned, okay, we use some simulators, yeah, so that people can, student can experience different scenario, okay, more quickly, yeah. So it means that, okay, now our classroom is become not a normal classroom, not like a lecture room before, okay, just more like a, you can think about like a playroom, game room, so that we can interact, yeah, more interaction, okay, between among the students across different generations, and also more interaction with the machine or equipment, yeah. Okay, yeah, so hope you like that. Okay, yeah, this is my sharing. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. T.L. Yip. Next, Professor Birmingham, please.
Okay, if I understand it, the question was really about the cost of green ships. I think the important thing I want to say here is I had to rather quickly go through the slide where I referred a little bit to costs. But when we're designing deciding on which vessel, which possible design we're going to go forward and to manufacture. So we're doing these comparative costs of our different possible solutions. As we look at this transition, which is going to happen in the maritime world, and we move to greener fuels of various sorts, as described by Dr. Yip, including wind and so on. As that transition happens, that's going to impact on vessels that exist, or vessels that we're building now. And we can work out the cost of the best operating costs and so on of a vessel that's going to operate today. But what we're worried about is what's going to happen as we go forward into the future. Now, I suggested that there are sort of three significant costs that we have to think about. Obviously, the first cost of manufacturing the vessel. Secondly, the cost of operating the vessel, which will include, major component of that will be the fuel. But the third one, which I didn't enlarge on enough perhaps, is the cost of the midlife, or at some point in the life of the vessel, its conversion from one fuel to another fuel, if that proves what's necessary. So there is a cost at that point. As the world transitions, and our vessel with its 25-year lifespan has got to make that transition, and there's going to be cost involved in that. Now, the cost could include the machinery, so we might have to change the machinery. The cost could include the naval architecture, by which I mean the sort of fuel tanks and ballasting arrangements and so on, to make it actually work with a different fuel, with different volumes and so on. And the cost could include the time that the vessel is out of service while these conversions are being made. So there's potentially a lot of cost involved in that transition. What we've got to realize is that when we do the first build of the vessel, we can facilitate that transition and make that transition easier and cheaper. We can make it happen more quickly, so there's less out of service losses. We can make it happen so that we don't need to change the machinery. If we anticipate the transition of the fuel is going to be from fossil LNG to a bio LNG to maybe an LNG, then the engine itself is not going to have to change. But if we anticipate the transition is going to be ammonia, then we're going to have different engine, and so there's going to be a lot more cost involved in that. So it is really looking at how we can reduce that transition cost when we have to change the vessel by investing a bit more in the first cost to make that transition easier, more possible, cheaper to occur. So that's really the intro. We want to run those scenarios is because if we just said, well, let's build a vessel for now, and then when the time comes, change it to whatever's necessary, we could be sort of stranded, because we could end up with that change being incredibly expensive to do and unviable as a result. But if we design the vessel today in anticipation of it going to have to change, and have worked out what would be the best way to make that change, then it is going to stay viable and continue forward. So I've mentioned that those cost of new engine, cost of changing the naval architecture of the vessel, cost of the time out of service. But it's possible some ways we can design the ship. Not all of those costs are going to be incurred. Okay, so if we can just change the fuel and not change the fuel tanks, not change the main engines at all, it's a dual fuel machine. The vessel is a dual fuel machine. We've paid more to make it dual fuel at the outset, but there will be no costs incurred at the time of transition, because we just swap from one fuel to the other. So that's the sort of that's why we need to look at the scenario to see what's the best way to minimize, or where's the balance going to come between the first costs and then the transition costs that are going to come later. I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you, Professor Birmingham. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe two more questions. Two more questions, maybe one from this room and one from Zoom meeting. So you may drop your questions on a chat column. Stand up, please.
All right. Good morning and afternoon. Thank you very much for the chance given to me. My name is Bayu Pratama. I am cadet from Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. Allow me to ask a question for Mr. Richard Birmingham. Okay, my question is, one of a huge issue to be debated is electric vehicle. It's a good solution for reducing environment pollution, but in the other hand, it remains a scary problem. Use a battery. What is your point of view about that? Thank you.
Professor
you.
Birmingham.
Thank you. Yes, it is an interesting question, and just to have electrification via using a battery, the issue is that we don't at this stage, and this is again where technology is evolving and things we don't know what the future holds for us, but the technology is evolving. So at some point in the future, things will be no doubt be very different. But the issue at this moment in time is that the batteries, we don't have the battery capacity to take a vessel across the ocean. And or if we did put that capacity on board, it would become it would swamp the cargo. We wouldn't have enough room for the cargo and so on. So this is a case where at the moment it is not viable in that ocean going situation. But as I say, we need to keep an eye on which way the technology is going. The interesting thing about electric propulsion, however, is that for much shorter routes, it is already viable. And it is becoming increasingly viable. I spent a couple of weeks just recently. 2 weeks ago, I was in Norway, and Norway is making huge advances in the implementation, actually introducing electric maritime vehicles. And you can, if I say it's useful for short distances, you start using it. Initially, it has been used just for passages where you've got a passenger ferry just going across a river or a harbour or something like that. So very short distances. And now it's being used for more extended ferry routes, but still, a few miles, a few kilometres, not great long distances, but it is already in Norway being considered how it can be used for greater distances than that, with ferries that are travelling for maybe 7 or 9 hours. But if they're stopping along the way, having rapid ways to change the battery, swap the batteries in and out, so you can pull up to take some more passengers on board, and while you're doing that, in a matter of minutes, you can have taken out your spent battery and put in a newly charged battery, and so on. So there is, it is gradually progressing, and I think that particular it's interesting that Norway is moving very rapidly in this, and of course Indonesia is an archipelago nation with maritime. Some of the maritime voyages that are made are not ocean going, but are much shorter distances. So some of these solutions may well be applicable within the coastal voyaging within Norway. I think the other thing to say is that just as with electric cars, hybrid solutions are very popular, where you're only partly, and so this is obviously a transition phase. You can't use this. This isn't going to get us to zero carbon, but as a transition phase where we're partly dependent on liquid fuels and partly dependent on batteries, is another way to go forward. And certainly some larger ships now, again in Norway, their Hurtigruten, their coastal steamer, is now working on a hybrid solution where it is partly using fossil fuel, but where it is going into sensitive areas, into fjords where pollution can be gathered and so on, that it is turning to electric propulsion instead. So that's another interesting potential. It's only a transition phase. That won't solve our problem of not using fossil fuels, but it will solve some of the other problems associated with fossil fuels of pollutants going into the atmosphere and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Birmingham. This is the last question coming from Mr. Abu Bakar for Professor Inga. Now, all marine polytechnics use the standard curriculum from IMO 701, 703 Nautical Department, and 702, 704 Engine Department. Is the curriculum related to marine automation? In the future, IMO will make a standard curriculum. Professor Inga, can we have you? She already left. All right, maybe the committee will help to send that question to Professor Inga. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the plenary session. Thank you to Captain Indra Priyatna, who has conducted us during the plenary session. Also, thank you for all keynote speakers who have shared important knowledge and information to all of us in this international conference. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we close today's conference, we would like to appreciate all the keynote speakers and moderator by providing the certificate of appreciation. For Captain Indra Priyatna, the certificate of appreciation will be delivered by Director of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic. We kindly invite Captain Muhammad Abdu MMTR to come to the stage. And we would like to inform to all keynote speakers who have joined via Zoom meeting, we will send the certificate via email. For Captain Indra and Captain Abdu, please remain on a stage as we are about to capture this moment, followed by all keynote speakers and participants. So please, for all participants and keynote speaker, turn on the camera as we are about to capture this moment. All right, cheers. Cheers. The next, please turn on your camera. Okay, next page. Please turn on your camera. Next page, please turn on your camera. Okay. Thank you, Captain Indra Priyatna, and thank you, Captain Muhammad Abdu. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finished all agendas for today's conference. I am Kanza Tamarindora. Would like to say thank you to all of officers, Maritime Affairs, keynote and invited speakers, moderator, and also all of participants who have joined and stayed for this international conference. Also, thank you to be part of our anniversary. See you on the next conference. Good afternoon.
Green country with 2/3 of its area consists of ocean. Indonesia is known as one of the largest maritime countries in the world. This shows that we have a lot of maritime potential, starting from the beauty of the sea and abundant natural resources. In addition, the existence of the ocean as a unifier of thousands of large and small islands is in dire need of connectivity that will connect those lands. This condition is, of course, a great opportunity for sea transportation modes.
Mohon izin Bapak Ibu kepada seluruh fakultas akademika dan juga Bapak Ibu hadirin
The Rating School
sama di atas stage
Barombong, which then become Barombong Nursing Marine College or BP2IP Barombong, with since April 15, 2019, based on the regulation of the Minister of
Berikan
Transport.
kepada Bapak Ibu hadirin, jangan lupa untuk scan untuk daftar hadir pada hari ini yang ada di atas meja, QR code untuk daftar hadir selanjutnya akan mendapatkan free certificate. Sekali lagi, jangan lupa untuk scan kehadiran hari pertama untuk sertifikat. Kembali kami mengundang dengan hormat Bapak Ibu para undangan untuk panggung, kita akan foto bersama.
Professional and ethical maritime officers. Barombong Maritime Polytechnic is one of the Indonesian higher vocational education under the Ministry of Transportation, which is organizes vocational education programs in the maritime field. Barombong Maritime Polytechnic is decided to become a vocational higher education that develops smart education.
Sekali lagi kami mengundang Bapak Ibu tamu undangan
In order to develop ourselves,
hadirin yang ada di ruangan ini, kita foto bersama di atas panggung.
Based on artificial intelligence, it is supported by 5 missions. The first is to organize and develop educational programs in maritime sector in accordance with the 3 Dharma of higher education in a professional, grade, quality, creative, and
mohon izin Bapak Ibu, aktivitas akademika mohon bisa ke atas panggung untuk foto bersama.
Parenting patterns in building the character of
Ya Bapak Ibu, mohon segera.
Excellent professional and ethical graduates. Third, increase cooperation with stakeholders, universities, and the civic industry. Professional association in the field of the sea transportation and island. Four, improve infrastructure and facilities as well as educational and training facilities in accordance with the development of science and technology. Fifth, improve education and learning governance, institutional governance, resources management, and financial governance based on information and communication technology that is transparent, accountable, and at the forefront. As vocational higher education in the maritime field, Barombong Maritime Polytechnic organizes various education and training programs such as Diploma 3 Nautical Studies Program, Diploma 3 Ship Machinery Program, and Diploma 3 Sea Transportation Management Program. We also organize Foreman Seafarers Training and Education non-diploma program consisted of Seafarers Training and Education Class 3, 4, and 5. Not only that, Barombong Maritime Polytechnic organizes upgrading seafarers training and education program.
Mari Bapak Ibu, panitia dan aktivitas peserta ikut foto bersama.
To support the certificate competence of seafarers, Barombong Maritime Polytechnic also organizes various training for seafarers proficiency, which consists of 28 types of training programs. In order to accommodate community
Bapak Ibu yang di belakang,
and underdeveloped areas, Barombong Maritime Polytechnic also supports the government program through community environment education.
Silakan Bapak Ibu.
And training activities.
Taruna di bawah sini ya, Taruna.
Since 2000.
Taruna di depan di bawah.
Barombong Maritime Polytechnic also
Taruna di bawah.
the improvement of the competence of graduates of the Diploma 3 Sea Transportation Management study program and meet additional needs by establishing a professional certification agency or Part T1, referring to the guidelines issued by the National Professional Certification Agency, which includes the warehouse operation officers, custom expert, loading and unloading warfare scene for the general cargo, mooring and unmooring and welding foreman. Barombong Maritime Polytechnic also provided a clinic which has been approved by the Director General of Sea Transportation, carry out medical checkup for seafarers and certification of seafarers' health. According to our mission, in order to comply the implementation of education and training, Barombong Maritime Polytechnic has prepared supporting facilities and infrastructure, including training ship, laboratories, simulators, libraries, training pools, hall buildings, cadet dormitories, executive dormitories, worship facilities, laundry, dining room, transportation fleet, and further sports facilities such as soccer fields, futsal fields, tennis courts, volleyball courts, jogging tracks, studio gym, marching bands, and several arch. Job prospect and environment of Barombong Maritime Polytechnic graduates are spread across several agencies, 50% in domestic companies, 25% in foreign companies, and 15% in government agencies such as civil servant, Indonesian army, and police, and 10% in other professions. Barombong Maritime Polytechnic also cooperates in implementing the three dharma of higher education in foreign and domestic companies, and several universities both